Having pride can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on why you have it. The good kind of pride means having a feeling of self-respect, a feeling of being good and worthy, and is usually felt after a great accomplishment or achievement, or for positive attributes such as having strong moral values, for example. Now, these are some of the things that might swell us up with pride and make us want the whole world to share in our success story. And when I say share, I don't mean the ongoing show of vanity we now see all across social media platforms, where the craving to share everything and anything just to get attention has reached almost pathological levels. Because believe it or not, the age we now live in is one of pure digital self-obsession, and we are all so brazenly proud of our self-absorption. But I digress, okay? You see, the kind of pride I want to talk about today is the bad kind. The kind that has many nuances and makes a person prideful for no sensible reason really, considering the fact that nothing we own lasts forever. I'm talking about the kind that is a negative attribute many of us have but deny having because we know it's an unacceptable behavior that would make anyone around us cringe and be put off easily. I'm talking about the kind that makes you arrogant and full of yourself, the kind that makes you think of yourself as higher and better than others because of a change of status or a newly acquired image as a result of an educational or professional achievement, or a marital or financial status, or whatever it is. I'm not going to go into a long list. Whatever it is that has moved you from one level to another and now makes you look down on others with ridicule. Simply put, because you now live in a big house while they live in a small flat, you think you're better than them. Or because you're now married to a wealthy man and your friend is yet to even find a partner, you think they don't belong in your class any longer. And so you stop hanging out with them. Or because you've just landed yourself a job that pays you triple what you normally earn and what the other person earns, you now start treating them like trash because they're yet to successfully climb that same career ladder like you have. Hello again and welcome to Insights with Sheeple. Today I will be talking about an ugly trait we all have in us to some degree, called pride. It is a deceptive vice that is easier to see in others, but harder to see in ourselves. And so we despise its presence in others, but defend its presence in ourselves. All right? It is one of the most detestable traits in man, for which God can choose to bring a person down to their most basic state. And this is reflected in the book of James chapter 4, verse 6, that tells us that God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble. So thank you for stopping by today. Sit tight and let's get right into it. See you in a bit. So today I want to look at some of the deeper reasons why a person can become prideful, and whether such an attitude can ever be of benefit to us or destructive to us. We're all familiar with the saying that pride goes before a fall. And this saying sometimes becomes a reality when we allow ourselves to cling too tightly to things that will inevitably pass away and allow them to define our self-worth and how we treat others, when we rather should be basing the stability of our self-worth upon validating, affirming, and valuing ourselves as we are and others as they are, and not because of what they have or don't have. You see, our self-worth should be a function of living our lives with dignity and should exist apart from and regardless of any of our accomplishments in life. This is because these acquisitions, as I like to call them, are fleeting and can indeed become a trap if too much or all of our attention goes towards accomplishing bigger and better things in order to feel good and appear as if we have arrived at our destination in life. And what happens when we walk through life like that is that we then become addicted to these external sources of gratification, which I also call ego crutches. And we live in constant fear of losing these crutches of status and image holding us up. These same crutches with which we now poke and oppress everything and everyone beneath us. You see, a prideful person is one who sits on their high horse and is in constant fear and danger of falling from it, because they know that they will have a long way to fall if they ever were to fall, considering the way they've been treating others. Okay, I want to take a little time at this point now to focus on a particular kind of people. I believe they're the worst kind of prideful people who are, in my opinion. And these are the people who are in a position of authority or power, if you wish. These are the ones who feel that because they have something you need, or they have the discretion over a decision in a matter that concerns you, they now can therefore choose to frustrate you before properly attending to you or giving you what you want. And many act like this for the dumbest reasons too, which could be perhaps because they didn't like the way you looked at them when you walked into their office that morning, or they look at you and judge you by what you wear, by your appearance. And so they decide to play their sick and prejudiced game of cat and mouse with your emotions and your time, simply because they're in a position of power over you at that moment. You see, some purely evil ones might even refuse to render you a service that is your basic right, and then base their refusal on some perverted bureaucratic jargon, I would call it. I've met a few of this kind, really, and I even know a friend right now who's literally plagued by people like this regularly. And it can be an awful nightmare to have to deal with this category of prideful people all the time, who don't understand that being in a position of authority simply means you have a responsibility to be responsible. Okay? They have trouble remembering why they were put in that position or why they got that position in the first place. So they now go about abusing their positions because they only feel confident when they can take away someone else's confidence. That's just terrible, I mean, if you're in such a position and you have been treating people that way, honestly, let me advise you to tread with caution so you don't trip up on your own foolishness, You are first and foremost a service provider before anything else. Therefore, abusing your power for your personal self-aggrandization is infantile and destructive in the long run. I love what Reverend Jesse Jackson said once. He said, never look down on anybody unless you are helping them up. You see, pride prevents people from acknowledging their human vulnerabilities. It makes them self-conscious instead of people-conscious. And because they're so self-consumed, they think too highly of themselves. They tend to focus on protecting their self-assigned status and image rather than striving to treat people better, forgetting that there was a time when they were in the same position as the ones they now dishonor with their pride. You see, that fear of what if I lose my status and everyone sees me constantly torments them, and therefore it is what governs all their actions, most of their actions. Prideful people are also often bound by a warped view of reality, a reality where they believe that they are already at the top and everyone else below them deserves to remain below them. How crazy is that, But the truth is that none of us are ever at the top in life, because the top, what you consider your top today, can become your bottom place tomorrow through your pride. Yes. And the truth is that the place you call the top right now can only be sustained by humility anyway. People don't even realize that. Another truth is that pride is also often driven by a poor self-worth and shame. Yes, shame, because we feel so badly about ourselves that we compensate by feeling superior. We look for flaws in others as a way to conceal our own, We relish criticizing others as a defense against recognizing our own shortcomings. How sad is that? How sad is that? At the end of the day, this thing called pride is really nothing but a paper-thin image that is easily torn by the slightest impact. And at any moment, the real you, with all your flaws and insecurities, can be revealed to the world to see. So wouldn't it be better if we all just freed ourselves from this grasp of pride and chose humility instead? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we just decided to hold ourselves with the dignity that comes from simply being humans? You see, that way people will like you and I more because they know we're real, even with our wealthy status, if we had one. You know, the fact is that real people have faults. Yes, real people have faults, and they're working on them. But prideful and fake people focus on ensuring not to show any of their faults instead, for fear of being seen as they really are. But you see, many people don't understand, or what they don't understand is that a person's true colors are a brilliant mix of faults and merits. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, really, because that's what makes us who we are. We don't need to achieve some sort of greatness to show or prove to others that we have worth and value, because we're great just as we are. Now, we might have the occasional inclination to pursue excellence because it feels meaningful, and that's okay. But it shouldn't be because it defines who we are as a person. No, it shouldn't. You know, I also want to mention here at this point that I know that there are some good people who don't mean to come across as proud, but they still get caught up in it. And this is because pride can be sneaky too. It can be. It can bury itself in your subconscious and sabotage you without you even realizing it. You know, it will permeate your thoughts, your words and actions without you intending it. And before long, people will start to perceive you as arrogant, conceited and self-centered. And you know, of course, that these qualities will stop endearing people to you immediately, especially those who once knew you as you were and loved you before the change of position that introduced pride into your life. Now, whatever stage in life we may be at right now, we must never see ourselves as better or worse than anyone else. Because as the light of our dignity shines more brightly, we realize that we don't have to be perfect or prideful. We realize that showing vulnerability, a thing we're all afraid of showing. I know I'm afraid of showing mine sometimes. And humility invites people towards us instead of repelling them. We become approachable that way rather than intimidating. We recognize that we are all a part of the human condition and we all have our strengths and weaknesses. But if we insist on showing ourselves stronger than we really are, we'd only be setting ourselves up for a big and painful drop eventually. Now I'm rounding up, but before I do, let me touch on the aspect of confidence that usually comes with pride. You know, when a person who used to be shy and quiet suddenly gets a change of status and it draws attention to them to some degree, they develop a sudden boldness or confidence. And although confidence is a good thing to have, when your confidence is based on an image that has in reality acquired you and not the other way around, or is an image that is not really who you are, you can become so prideful and mistake it for confidence. And so we really have to be careful to remain humble all the time so we can identify the difference. I honestly think that if people really wanted to change the way they are, they could. It's easy to acquire some principles to help maintain our humility and keep our pride in check. And because one of the main reasons people suffer from pride is because they depend on and need the perceptions of others for their self-confidence, they need to stop needing that kind of validation from others and instead be content and confident in who they are and not what they are or have. In conclusion, I pray that we all, and especially anyone struggling with pride that is watching this, will come to understand that pride can disconnect us from God when we insist on walking in it because of a material-based perception that we have finally arrived at the top in life. But if we decide to start affirming our dignity instead of our acquisitions, and we start allowing others their dignity as well by showing everyone respect in spite of their status or looks or whatever in life, we become more available to honoring ourselves and connecting with others in an acceptable way. May God help us all. Amen. So a big thank you to you for stopping by again today and for watching till the end. You made it. I hope you learned something valuable because I have. Now, if you've enjoyed watching this video, please leave a comment, like, and don't forget to subscribe. And then click on the bell symbol below so you can get a notification each time I upload a new video. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful day. Stay amazing and God bless you.